Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, episode number 203 of Let's Go Racing. Tyler Jones, Dominic, Aragon, and Matt Kemp here with you as we look back at the big win for SVG again at the ROVAL. We'll also look ahead to this weekend's action as well. Our old friend Carl Long is back, the owner of MBM Motorsports, and we have plenty to discuss with Carl as there's some news going on involving ownership in NASCAR. Stay tuned for that. We'll have our news and notes along with our mailbag segment as well coming up at the end of today's show. Dominic joins in right now. Dom, last week, I think for the first time ever, everyone on the panel predict the same driver to win the race, Shane Van Gisbergen. Shane Van Gisbergen won the race. But with that said, though, I will say this was much more exciting than some of the SVG wins that we've seen this season. It was closer than what the final intervals would have told you. I still think, even though SVG won and won multiple stages, this was still a good race.
Very good race. You have playoff guys contending. You have playoff storylines out throughout the last lap. Another week of controversy with a controversial finish. And Ross Chastain, who is he in? Is Joey Logano out? Denny Hamlin gets in the mix. Funny how Denny Hamlin, Tyler, the last 3 weeks has been a part of the story in some way, shape, or form, whether he wants to be or not, whether he's winning the race or not. But nonetheless, a great race. We have a reset, which we'll get to here in a minute on the points. But I think, too, you can't overlook the fact that he won 5 out of 6 races, not only in his rookie year, Tyler, but 5 out of the 6 road course races this year. You were at the Coda race. I think he finished 7th or 8th, but he still was a contender there as well. This is the first driver in 25 years, Jeff Gordon, dating back to 1997 to 2000, winning 5 consecutive road course races. Phenomenal. Truly a historic thing we have been able to witness in NASCAR.
So, Matt, let me ask you this about SVG, and then we'll get back to Dom on the playoff picture here in a moment. He set the rookie record for most wins in a rookie season with 5. He made the playoffs, but the consistency, of course, hasn't been there. SVG has not done that great on ovals. He has improved as the season has gone along. So, Matt, would you say, is this the greatest season ever by a rookie? Yes or no? And what's your reasoning why, one way or the other?
Man, that's a loaded question. I feel like there's a lot. There's a big pool to compare him to there, but I would say it's definitely up there. It's got to be one of the best. Obviously, if he's won more than any other rookie's ever won, it's definitely up there. But again, there's more road courses than there's ever been on the Cup schedule, and well, he's kind of in a class of his own on those, so it shouldn't be any surprise. And he kind of had a little advantage in that side of it, but at the same time, he's winning them because he's truly just that much better than everyone else. And it's funny, you were talking about how it was closer than the final intervals said. I think it was just more of a false hope there for a little while for the rest of the field because it was not even close.
Not even close at all, man.
So, Dom, looking at the updated playoff picture of the drivers that have advanced to the next round, let's talk about that as we begin now the round of 8 at this point. You have Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, William Byron, along with Christopher Bell, Chase Briscoe, Chase Elliott, and Joey Logano. What do you think about those 8 that advanced?
Man, it's like a repeat of last year. Joey Logano, I believe, was below the cut line as well. We're going to Las Vegas, and I believe he's driving a Pennzoil car. I think the field's probably on notice on that one. And they advanced to Phoenix. We know Team Penske is going to be in solid shape. But Ryan Blaney on the other side of that cut line, too, really stands out to me, too. These guys are going to be looking to collect stage points. I think you'll see the Fords run really well this upcoming weekend. But Jeff Gluck pointed this out, Tyler. I thought it was a very fascinating point. The consistency that you have seen out of more or less the last 2 NASCAR Cup Series seasons. You have 7 of the 8 drivers in the round of 8 this year that were also in the round of 8 last year, with the exception being Tyler Reddick out, Chase Briscoe in, but pretty much the same playoff field. It's going to be a treat over the next 3 weeks to see what happens at a mile and a half, Talladega race, and the short track of Martinsville. Good mix in the round of 8.
Matt, of the drivers that were eliminated, when we're talking, Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric. Who surprised you the most that went home early?
Honestly, with how Ross was running, I really thought that he would have been in a little better shape there, maybe best to Joey Logano. It was looking like he was going to for a while. And everybody talks about Team Penske, but I seem to remember when one of the Penske cars won the championship a few years ago, they finished second, and actually it might have been last year, but the guy who won the race was actually Ross Chastain. So it might have been more dangerous for Ross Chastain to get through if he ended up getting all the way. But I was a little surprised by him for sure.
All right, Dom, our next guest, he is an old friend of ours. He's everybody's favorite former Domino's delivery driver. The one and only Carl Long is here. Tell everybody what they need to know about Carl Long.
Gosh, it's going to be a fun conversation tonight. We want to talk about one of the most, I guess, raw and unfiltered and just down to earth and honest human beings in the NASCAR Cup Series garage. You got to look no further than Carl Long. He's been a friend of the show for a long time, been associated with our show over the years, and of course, fields teams in the NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, and Craftsman Truck Series. Of course, a former competitor himself. Got a great racing history and a great racing story. So when we brought up the idea of bringing him back on the show, he was all about it. Carl, thank you so much for joining us this week here on Let's Go Racing. Glad to have you back.
Yeah, glad to be back. Been a while and stay pretty busy all of the time, but see that you've got your front row seat at the Daytona Speedway there, so I didn't want to mess you up too bad.
Yeah, I shot this photo a few years back. I figured it has to be a nice little background I got to use somewhere, so we found it here on Zoom.
Yeah, I don't have that creative ability to make mine. It's all you get's the wall in the kitchen.
Hey, it works.
Hey, that'll work. That'll work. Carl, tell us everything that's been going on with your race team, man. I know that you look at your team, and I see you guys still fighting hard to be on the racetrack as much as you can. Such a gritty organization. I saw a post this week from you guys on social media talking about that, hey, you're trying to do everything you can, that sure, you would like to have a full-time driver, but that's just not financially viable. You got to go with whoever's going to bring you funding and do what you can just to be able to compete. That you guys are trying to work as hard as you can, just put cars out there each and every week.
Yeah, and so I kind of changed my business model over the last few years. It used to be that we would sign a driver up and maybe he had funding for half or three-quarters of the races, and then we figured, okay, we would just find the rest of the funding to figure it out. And you were chasing points, and you went to some races with no sponsorship, no anything, and kind of hard to pay the bills when you spending more than you have coming in. So in the last couple of years, we just decided that if we have some sponsorship money and we have a driver, we'll go run it. And I'm not going to go run 3 and 4 cars a weekend at a time. I've got 8 full-time people, and if we can do it, and you'll see us do a double up here with the Craftsman truck and the Cup Series, because most of the time the Craftsman trucks come in, go through tech, and they're going home after the race, and they don't do a lot with the Cup in the garage. So we'll unload the car on a Friday, the Cup car, and Saturday practice, qualify, Sunday race. So we just make a 5-day weekend out of it and run 2 races all with the same group of people. And that works a little more efficiently and not chasing points every week and showing up sometime not prepared like you should be. And so now we've got Casey Mears coming on board. The last 3 races will be at Talladega, we will be at Martinsville, and we will be at Phoenix. And Casey is, with his sponsorship, made it possible. This will be the first time we've ran leased engines at anywhere other than the super speedways.
That's going to be an exciting final 3 races for you guys. And I know Casey's really big on getting to that 500 century mark. And I got to imagine for you, too, it's pretty special to also be a part of that journey, too, and helping him inch closer and closer to start 500 with the organization.
It is. And, I've known Casey for years, and he's always been one of the most respectful drivers that was in the garage area, had time for you, talk to you. And you would never know that he was a Mears or it's you call the IndyCar people. We always used to call them hoity-toity, but I'm not so sure if the NASCAR folks aren't like that now. But Casey's just a really good down-to-earth person. He just wants to race, and now years ago, I wouldn't have this opportunity for people to come drive for me because at that point, we need a Childress car. If you don't have a Childress car, you're not going to win. If you don't have a Hendrick car, if you don't have a Gibbs car, well, all the cars are the same now. It's just up to us to figure out which direction we want to go in. And I don't have the engineering resources behind us, but I do have some friends here and there that'll give me a few bones, and we've been able to show up and now, the excuse always was that we didn't have the right engine. We couldn't keep up. I don't know if that was the right excuse or not. I wasn't driving it to feel it, but hopefully now we'll be able to dial it in. Just like this weekend, we ran with Josh Palicki at the Roval, and we did have a shock problem on the right rear. We had an adjustment go the wrong way between practice and qualifying. Took us till the end of the beginning of stage 3 to kind of get it dialed in where Josh could run a little better. But if we could have started there where we should have, maybe I would have been able to dial him in where we would have outrun 5 or 6 other cars. But that's the crew chief side of me coming out. And then the truck driver side of me wants to hurry up and load up and go home, but we didn't have too far to go. So, I wear the hat of a truck driver, crew chief, and team owner.
Which of those hats is probably the hardest to wear?
The truck driver. Yeah.
I imagine it's going to be long hours on the road, whether it be the destination. Like I know you guys are going to Vegas this weekend, but that would be a nice cross country. I know you've done that plenty of times. So a lot of logistics you got to figure out on your end too when you're doing that.
Yeah. Fortunately, not having to chase points, I decided we'd stay home from Vegas and get ready to go to Talladega. So we're doing a truck for Tyler Tomasi at Talladega, and we're doing the car with Casey Mears. And hopefully that'll be just enough so there's nobody going home, whether it's you don't want to take that chance as your own team, and you also hate seeing it when somebody else, went home after spending a lot of money to get there and be an attempt to make the show and then not make it.
Now, Carl, I've worked with our friend Matt Jennings on some sponsorship stuff, and I've seen kind of the numbers that have been thrown out there that you and some of these smaller teams are looking for, and it's quite the opportunity that these sponsors have to be on a big stage working with your team or some of these other smaller teams that are pretty much guaranteed entry. We hardly see more than 40 cars enter a cup race, and you get the chance to, have your VIP passes, get to bring the whole crew and everything. I mean, I'm telling everybody right now, like, if you're a sponsor out there and you're looking, to get involved in NASCAR, you need to be working with Carl and getting your name out there because you get plenty bang for your buck. It's quite the opportunity that you guys have to offer here.
And that is a good niche for us. When you go over in the Xfinity Series, some of the same kind of business model that I use of running my own engines and having my own pit crew, that's also shared by Bobby Dodd, Joey Gase, Tommy Joe Martins, Mario Goslin. Those group of people also race like we do. And it's a little bit tougher. And then you get in a truck series and it's just as well. I mean, you've got Josh Rayum, who has some factory backing, and Frankie Muniz to help him out with getting some of those things going. But in the Cup Series, it costs so freaking much to get the cars. I'm fortunate to have Rocky Smith of Smith Built Homes in Tennessee, who bought these cars for us to race. And I mean, it's over $500,000 to put one Cup car together. And so having somebody to write a check for one car is tough, and we've got 3. So that the car that I run at Talladega is a different car than I will run at Martinsville, and the car that I run at Phoenix is a car that we just ran at the ROVAL.
Wow, a lot of moving parts and pieces. And you mentioned a few minutes ago, maybe I'm taking a few steps back here, but how you might have some guys that come through and help and might throw a bone your way from here or there. I look at a guy like Casey Mears, somebody who spent time with Chip Ganassi, Hendrick Motorsports, Richard Childress Racing. When somebody like that comes to the fold with the organization and wants to come back and continue working with you, is Casey somebody that's pretty hands-on? He'll come to the shop, try to help. Like, how does all that look behind the scenes?
Well, Casey lives in Arizona now, so he isn't really just driving over to Statesville too quickly. But the situation is, we had a mutual friend between us, and he kind of was saying, Casey wants to get to 500. He said he's not been racing recently, but it's not because he's out of shape and can't do it. He's going across the desert and doing a lot of things. He's still active, still racing. And with this new car, I can call him up and tell him he's got the same car that Joey Logano's got. I can call him and tell him this. He's got friends that's been in the sport with him that kind of give us a few pointers on what they do to go faster. And we're trying to put that together. And I convinced him to come to Martinsville. And then when he come to Martinsville, he was not excited with the way it drove. We fired off good. We burned the tires off quick. We had too much camber in the left rear. Didn't quite have the front turning like it was supposed to be. But I didn't have the sim. I didn't have the other stuff that we needed. But what it did do for us is it got us where Casey had been in one of these cars. So they wouldn't let Mike Wallace run for us because Mike had not been in one of these cars. So he couldn't start at Daytona. Casey got in this thing and ran the car. And that's all NASCAR was looking for, is just get them some seat time and get them in there. And not everyone, but a lot of the teams that are on a part-time fill-in basis, they contacted Casey, and they all wanted a lot more money. They're trying to make their car payments and their trailer payments and stuff. We didn't have to. We fortunately enough that Rocky and his brother Tom kind of helped us and purchased the car, so we weren't making a loan payment. And the trailers, we've had those purchased and stuff, and equipment over the years. It's just for me meeting payroll and making that thing happen. So the business side of it came out. And when we went to Daytona this last race, Casey was very competitive. We cut a right rear tire down that created some other problems, and breaking a crush panel loose that kept cutting the right front tire off of it. But I'm looking forward to going back to Talladega. We had speed at Daytona with Chandler Smith, and we're still running the same setup. Some of the other guys might be migrating and making something better, but I don't know anything better, so I'm putting the same setup back in it and turning him loose.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun follow to watch.
Yeah. We're joined by Carl Long this week here on Let's Go Racing. Carl, the owner of MBM Motorsports, competing in both the NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series. And Carl, when you look back on what you've done in your career, whether it be an owner or a driver, and all the people you've worked with, what comes to mind? What are you most proud of? What do you look back on of being some of your favorite memories, being a part of this sport for so many years now?
Well, my personal memory was the first time I ever qualified for a Cup race, giving the seat up to Darrell Waltrip. And, I probably could have merged Darrell into this call if we needed to. I do have his phone number now, and he does help me on a few things here and there, but I didn't get the adoption. I didn't get the adoption paper. It's probably past his bedtime now. Darrell's getting a little older. So, but I didn't get the adoption papers, being his son that he never had. So we still had to figure out how to make it on our own. And then having, finishes like that we've had with Timmy Hill at Daytona with a second and a third, and him finishing seventh for us at Bristol, and probably one of my best open races was a 14th at Indianapolis, all with Timmy. And, having some speed when we used to show up, and JJ Yeley would unload and be in the top 10 fastest with one of our cars. Those are the rewards that you feel, and it's just enough drug to really make you even go harder. And I know, having, like I said, this year at Daytona, Chandler Smith was one of the fastest cars in practice. And when they dropped the green flag in the race, we were in a good position to win the race and transfer into the Daytona 500. Chandler just cleared himself because he couldn't see out of his camera, and he said he didn't hear the spotter. But anyway, whatever happened, we was windshield deep into the wall. So that was but to feel the joy of knowing, hey, we're just a little small group, and I can put stuff together and go run competitively. That's the kicker in it. That's what makes you feel good, because other guys, I mean, Rick Ware would call me up and go, "How in the crap are you doing this, Carl? How do you? You ain't got but 6 people?" He said, "Hell, I got that many. It's got to clean and all that behind everybody else." So,
that's really interesting, Carl, that you're kind of talking about that. It's kind of right on the topic of what question I had for you. I'm really curious, ultimately, kind of, especially from the owner standpoint, of really how the next gen has kind of changed the sport. And you talked about having your crew chief hat on earlier. I can only imagine that just from the crew chief perspective alone, with the independent rear suspension and all the, it's got to be completely just about foreign in comparison to what we were doing before. So, not only from the crew chief perspective, but from the owner's perspective, and as ultimately as an owner, how has the next gen really changed the sport?
um, it has put it in a smaller box, and for me, some of the things that go on with it, I don't have the sim program to figure it out. We kind of we'll travel our suspension without springs in it and kind of look at it to see what it does, and we're learning. And so each time I go back to a racetrack that we've raced at before, I feel like I have been able to improve. I haven't went backwards yet, but it's just a migration of experience and learning things. We don't get to test them. We don't get to, and you don't even get to pull them down. The way these cars are done now, we use a gale force machine, and just kind of go over there and figure your loads out just like you would a late model car somewhere. And I do have some friends in the sport. If I didn't have friends in the sport, they would tell me, "Hey, pull your right front down 1,500 pounds and quarter inch or something like that," I'd really be lost. It would make this learning curve a lot more difficult. So I'm very, very thankful to have been in the sport this many years, and created a lot of friends that will help me. And I don't try to wear out the same one every week. I'm talking to one at one team this week, one at the next team. So it's usually a month before I rotate back around and come back to the same guy, unless the last time their team ran, it didn't run too good, and my other buddy ran really good. I'll go back to him and see if I can get a little information.
I kind of do the same thing with the dwarf car side. Whenever I was first starting in dwarf cars, I would go to one guy that was fast and kind of ask for something, go to another guy and try to, work every side of the table. So I wasn't trying to take from one pool all the time. But would you say, kind of based on those comments, would you say it's actually harder now to be a new owner in the sport versus what it was with the previous generations of cars?
Um, I think what right now is in the sport versus years ago, and not many recent years ago, but it's gotten that if you do not have a connection with some team person, in a factory backed sport or larger team, whether it's truck, whether it's Xfinity or Cup, the learning curve is going to be stupid to try to figure it out. The trucks are a little more relaxed, but I would suggest that people go run ARCA and get a feel for what's going on before they try to jump over. The Hawkeye situation, it's just to give you an idea of some of the things that we fight, and I think they're going to help me fix it. But I have a Cup car that's a Ford, and you use the Hawkeye system to go through the racetrack for inspection. They inspect the body, they inspect the underbody, all this stuff. And the teams that don't have a Hawkeye in their shop, they use a Roma arm to kind of stay in check and be legal. Well, I asked NASCAR to give me a copy of the file for the Roma arm so I could check mine. They said, "Well, that's handed out by the manufacturers." Okay, so I called the engineers at Ford, and they go, "Oh no, you're not on the program. You're part-time. You can't get it." So I go over to the R&D center. NASCAR has a method for me to do it. Is I go to the R&D center, and they have a Hawkeye system over there that you can kind of check your car. And we've been doing it for the last couple of years in the Xfinity car, but I'm one of the few, or, that take my cup car over there just to check it out and go to the track to get close. Now it takes up a lot more time, but even if I did have some of that stuff, it's kind of hard to come up with about $700,000 to buy one of them machines to put in your shop. Eventually it might get that way for me, and then I don't know exactly where I'm standing. But right now it works. There's rules in place that didn't work for me, and I figured out how to make it work. So we show up. The last 2 times we've shown up at the racetrack, I went through tech the first time, both times, and that's the biggest accomplishment in Cup now. It's just to clear tech.
Yeah, you get that email, Tyler. I don't know if you guys are on all those emails, Tyler or Matt, but the NASCAR communications team will send out this car failed inspection twice or 3 times. They've got to do a pass through, or so-and-so was ejected and stuff. So they try to keep us all in the loop of what's going on, but you're right. It seems like it is quite the process to try to pass tech.
Yeah, I mean, a turn under the bottom of the car, you fail tech for 50 thousandths. And some of that is, I mean, it's hard. Like I said, I get up under the car and adjust it and barely turn some of the stuff. So how much does 50 thousandths really mean on a racetrack? Well, I didn't think it made nothing, but the further we race and the better I get, the further I find out I need to be within 10 thousandths, not within a quarter inch, And so just to give you an idea, our car, from where it was submitted to NASCAR, the body is allowed 150 thousandths below or above their minimal tolerance, and the underbody of the car is 100 thousandths. So you have less than a quarter inch that the bottom of your car can move around, and just a little more than a quarter inch that the outside of the body can move around. And that's the difference when you're looking at the pole position and going all the way back. It used to be, if you were a half a second off of the pole, you still might be in the top 10. If you're a half a second off of the pole now, you look at most of them, they're in the 30s or so back there. So it's the whole field has tightened up quite a bit. And I've not got to race one of these, in traffic like we used to, but I guess it's all aero dependent, a lot more so than anything we've had in the past.
You're right. You look at that qualifying sheet, and the 1st to 30th is within half a second of each other. Absolutely. NASCAR's gotten the parity I think they've wanted on a lot of these tracks. And with this next gen vehicle, and of course, even looking bigger picture, Carl, and of course, the news seems to be changing ever so slightly, or every day, it seems like, with what's going on in the courts and how this is all playing out 2311 in front row. And of course, we know your name was there with BJ McLeod and all these other owners with the declaration, with the latest documents as of a few days ago at the time of this taping. So I guess from your vantage point, as somebody who does enter Cup races from the team ownership aspect, you can just kind of share your perspective on how all this is playing out and what you can share.
For me, all I was really concerned about, we had heard stuff, and I'm just like you guys are. I mean, I'm involved in a sport. We have cars. But basically, I see what Bob Pockrass and those guys, Dustin Long, put out, and that's where I learned it at. It's what comes across on the same channels as everyone else. But we made a call to NASCAR because they were saying that we're going to issue 4 more charters. And so I even called Bob Pockrass to get his opinion. If they were to issue 4 more charters and Front Row and 23XI wins the case, their court and case, that's 6. There's 40 cars. What happens to the open cars? Where do we go? Are we out? If I got to find something else, or do we need, where am I at? So we've called some people at NASCAR, and they talked to us, and and that was a thought that they really didn't think about. That okay, we are going to have open cars, in Cup Series. That we will guarantee you, there will be open cars in Cup. That's all we needed to know. I've tried to get charters over the years from different people when they were available, and for one reason or another, you couldn't. I remember we tried to buy the 13 charter from Jermaine before Michael Jordan got it. We were in line. We sent off all sorts of things of declarations of how much money that we had that we could write a check for, and it was substantial with Rocky Smith behind me. And the guy that was the general manager, I forgot what his name was with Jermaine's, he said, well, this is just bigger than the sport itself and what we're going to do. And it's not based on money. And I'm like, well, I've been racing for 20 some years at that point, maybe 30. And everything's based on money. Now that I have somebody with money, you tell me that money ain't no good. And they signed up Michael Jordan. So, and we had an opportunity to bid on the charter that Bob Jenkins got from the Burger King, the BK charter. And that was when I had Rocky come along with me. And he had a little bit cold feet. You got to write a check for $2 million. He'd only been with me. Chad Fincham as a driver brought Rocky in as a sponsor. And then we got Rocky to come part of the team and help buy some parts and stuff with us. And yeah, he was a little bit timid, and the thing come along. And then what we knew at that point is the auction price was probably going to go pretty high because they had a second charter that had already been sold to Front Row. And Front Row was going to keep wearing it out because they already owned it. And the only way to make that, and I'd worked for Bob and a lot of the guys at Front Row and just didn't want to get into a pissing contest with him over something he'd already done bought one time. So we kind of dropped that and didn't really go after it. And then the last one was when Archie St. Hilaire got out. Basically, I guess it was me and BJ, and they kept Joe Falk along as he didn't want to sell his half, but Archie wanted to be out. I went there and told Archie, I said, okay, here's a check. What numbers do I need to fill it out? You just tell me. Whatever I need to put in that, we'll do it. And we'll become partners with Joe Falk. Well, for some reason or another, Joe thought BJ was a better deal, or I don't know, but BJ wound up with the deal and we didn't. So I don't know. I mean, but I still figure out how to race on the open money that we got. And I think you hear, one of the things that I hear with NASCAR and all these guys is we're not making any money. We don't have any. Well, I think it's just different. All of us racers, even anybody that's been in it, if you give me $20,000 to go to a race, I'll figure out how to go to a race for $20,000. If I have that $20,000 and I'm running a late model stock car, I'll spend all of that $20,000 on that late model. If I got $20,000 to spend on an Xfinity car, we'll be kind of shitty when we get to the track with what we have. But I'll spend 20 grand and we'll go race. So if you give Hendrick $2 million a race, they'll spend $2 million a race. If you get them 20,000 a race, they'll find sponsorship money to supplement whatever they need. But every racer that I ever met will spend every dime that he's got to go faster. If it's available, we got to go get it. And I see that being one of the reasons that the big teams say that they don't ever make any money, because they don't ever stop researching and trying to spend more.
So let me ask you this, Carl, with what's going on with 23 and Front Row right now and them operating as open teams, and you've seen the amount that open teams make compared to charter teams. They are saying that their operations are not sustainable long-term as open teams if they don't get a settlement that goes to their favor or win that lawsuit, of course, with NASCAR. What do you think about their position for both those teams? Like how from your vantage point, how much of a struggle is it that they are going through right now of adapting mid-season to being open teams when they were just chartered teams a month or so ago?
Well, they both have a lot of resources, and they both are thinking that it's going to come out in their favor at the end. I knew some of the people that worked at 2311, and they was worried that, if Michael lost and what was going to happen. That I was told that Michael Jordan told him, he said, guys, I lost more one night playing blackjack that I'm going to spend all year doing this. So don't worry about it. We're okay. But I ain't heard that from Bob Jenkins. I can tell you that. I worked for Bob for several years, and I think Bob probably still has about 8 cents of the first dime that the Tooth Fairy ever gave him. So, but it is from the best, and I don't know the exact payout of a charter because I'm not part of the charter stuff. But if you do the math, I know what we get paid, and my average 38th place starting position pays, let's just say, in an average of $30,000. And I think that a charter car in the same position will get close to $200,000.
Wow.
So
it's a big jump.
Yeah.
And you're guaranteed. And it's just, when you can go tell a sponsor, hey, we're going to the race and you're going to be in it. The worst thing in the world, and I've been on this several times, is a sponsor comes into the race, they're bringing their group of people in, and you miss the race. You miss the race on a Friday, is the race on a Saturday, or it's a huge bunch of, how do I make this up? Where do we make it right at? And, most of the time you took less money than you needed to take anyway, because it was some kind of last minute deal. And then I had one that went on in Indianapolis that these people sued me and cost me more in a court to get the money back because our driver failed to make the race. And I spent more on lawyer fees than what they spent in sponsorship money. So at the end of the day, I lost money and didn't get anything from it. And they still got their advertisement for the race because we were stuck in a gravel pit in practice, and their name got all over the TV. So I do like the fact that, our best racing that we've ever had in our year as a business was during COVID, because we knew during COVID, when we left shop, headed to the racetrack, that we were in the race. We knew 2 or 3 weeks before we could sell sponsors and say, hey, we're going to be in it. We're one of the field. And right now, that's the way it is for Cup. And it worked out. Casey knows that he's teams up with us. There's other teams that Casey could have went to. But, BJ wasn't at the position. He's running Catherine this weekend. He's going to run himself at Talladega. So it didn't really work. And for him, I know a couple of people approached Casey and they wanted twice as much money as what we have to have. And we ran good at Daytona with him, and we proved that we could go fast. So for us, where we are in the points in the last 3 races, we're guaranteed to be in as long as something really unforeseen doesn't happen. And I'm looking forward for Garage 66 to not be at the tail end of the field. So when we were at Martinsville with Casey, and even at Daytona, he's proven he's still just as sharp, if not sharper than ever. I mean, he cut a right rear tire down in the draft at Daytona and kept it out of the wall. I don't know how he kept it out, but he kept it out of the wall. And, we did substantial damage when the right front tire blew out. It took out the crush panel, and that thing kept dragging the tire and cutting the sidewall off until we finally got enough of it cut off. It didn't do the damage. At Martinsville, it only took him about 3 laps, and he was as good as anybody. So I'm looking forward to what we've got going on with it. And we will have another surprise I haven't announced yet at Martinsville, but just have to look forward to it until it's ready to be released. But we'll have something at Martinsville that I think everybody will be tickled about.
I got one more question on this topic, and then if Matt and Dominic have anything else, by all means. Carl, I don't know how you want to answer this, but we ask the tough questions around here, so it's up to you to how you want to go about this. But when you look at that lawsuit, what's going on with 2311 Front Row, and then back to your team as an owner, is there an outcome that you are hoping for or rooting for that would be in the best interest of your team and your organization? How do you view what's going on there and how that potentially affects you guys?
Well, in the I Wish For It program, is they have extra charters, and they say, okay, Carl, here, you can have one since you've been trying. Will you come race full time? That would be a good wishful part, because all the charters originally were gave out. But I think now with the dollar amount on it, that is probably not going to be something that happens to us. And no matter what happens, whatever way it goes, favorable for Front Row and 2311 or non-favorable, it has already benefited us as an open team, because now with 6 provisionals that guarantees them guys to start in a spot. Well, we're not going to outrun 2311 in front row. So if they have a car that has a bad race or two, they're all guaranteed in. But if they don't, now teams like the 62 or BJ's ahead of us, but the ones that's behind us in the points, they don't have to come to a racetrack and out qualify me. They've got to come to a racetrack and out qualify 2311 in front. They got to be one of the top 4 fastest to make the race. So that's 6 really nice funded cars that they've got to outrun to be in the race before they can pass me in the points. And that's why I don't think you will see more than 40 cars the last 3 races. And if we really get lucky, they'll leave this in place for next year because a lawsuit won't be settled overnight. And when Daytona comes around, maybe they'll leave that in there and I'll have a provisional to go to Daytona and be in the 500.
I like the outlook on that, Tyler. That's very good big picture perspective.
Yes, indeed. Dominic, Matt, anything else before we get news and notes here?
All for you, Matt.
All right. Let's get to our top headlines in the sport. Plenty of news going on, Dom. Where do we want to start first?
No, we got so many headlines to get to. Let's start with the NMPA opening at Most Popular Driver voting. Most Popular Driver voting for the NASCAR Cup Series, Xfinity, and Truck Series started this week, announced on Monday, October 6th. Voting will continue through November 3rd, where you can vote for your favorite driver, your most popular. Who is the most popular driver at NASCAR.com? NMPAonline.com will also have more information on that, too. Prior drivers that have won the award over the years, Tyler, include Bill Elliott, 1988 Cup Series champion. He has the award record with 16 awards, 1984 to 88, 91 to 2000, and 2002. Dale Earnhardt Jr. won the award 15 times, all in consecutive years, 2003 to 2017. And Chase Elliott has won the award the last 6 years, 2018 on.
So, Carl, how do we rig the voting for Casey Mears to beat Chase Elliott?
Well, that one I was not expecting an answer on, so I really got to get a little bit of thought for that one. But
it's going to be easy after you win. It's going to be real easy after you win Talladega.
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, we gotta go win the race before the voting is over with. That's the way to do it. So we'll just take care of it at Talladega and be done with it.
Open-ended question for any of you that want to hop on this. Dale Jr. won it how many times? And I would say that his career was underwhelming for his popularity. Chase Elliott has won one championship, but I don't think anybody believes that Chase Elliott's a top 3 or 4 driver. Is it a problem that the best drivers in this sport have never been the most popular, at least in our lifetimes? Is that an issue for the sport?
I believe that the drivers that win the most races, they piss off a lot of people on the way up there doing it. And you can't always be vanilla. And I mean, you look at Jimmy Johnson. He's probably one of the most vanilla race car drivers that we've ever had. And he didn't win most popular driver, but he won 7 championships. Yeah, they used to show up and you just load your stuff up and go back to the house because he was probably going to win. But it's the ones, the Denny Hamlins, then the Dale Earnhardts. And I mean, you look at Dale Earnhardt versus Bill Elliott. Dale Earnhardt sold way more souvenirs than Bill Elliott. But Bill Elliott won the vote because I think he had more of a general population. You either hated Bill or hated Dale Earnhardt or you loved him. And there was no middle, sort of like Kyle Busch. And I would say that Denny Hamlin is filling that stuff up as well. So that's my kind of take on it.
I feel like Matt wants to say something here.
I don't know if I agree with your take that, the best drivers aren't necessarily the most popular. I feel like if you look at their by alphabetical list every year, it seems like you've got Ryan Blaney and Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott and all the guys that tend to be towards the top of the standings. Now, don't get me wrong. I feel like the kind of the Gibbs guys aren't quite as popular, but either way, the point being, I think we are in a place right now where the more popular drivers are running well. So in the past, it might have hurt us, but I don't think that's a contributing factor right now.
Like, you look at other sports, for example, Tiger Woods was the best golfer, and he was by far the most popular golfer out there. And I think that did wonders for that sport. You look at, another example I could point to would be, the WNBA right now. Caitlin Clark is, ascending and is on track to eventually be the best player in the WNBA, and that's helping that sport take off the way it is. And I feel like that the be curious what you think, Dom. Like if Jimmy Johnson would have been the most popular driver in the 2000s, if people would have attached on and there would have been some aura there, I think the sport could have been much different than it is now. Like if you would have had that Tiger feel to him, but you know, I say that it doesn't happen in every sport though. Tom Brady was never the most popular player in the NFL either.
Yeah, and I kind of look at what Matt's saying too, like where you do see more of your bigger names that are towards like the alphabetical list, Matt. If I remember right, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, you tend to see their names on that short list as well. I feel like I even saw Kyle Busch on that list maybe a year or two ago. It might have been fan vote with something, but maybe there is a tide shifting here. But you can have your cake and eat it too, because I do think of Tiger Woods in the '90s. I think of Peyton Manning, Tyler. I think Peyton Manning was well liked, and whether he was in a Colt or a Bronco uniform, and he did win. He had a lot of success, but people love to hate Eli Manning for some reason. I feel like he didn't get
Yeah.
that same type of love that his brother did, but he was still equally successful with the two Super Bowl victories. So maybe it depends on what the fans are feeling in that era or how that all looks all together. Because you're right. I think football and golf, you can point to those examples. And Carl, I think as far as rigging the vote in Casey Mears' favor, I think we can look back at some history where we can make noise. Josh Wise and the Reddit community and how they got voted in to the fan vote for the All-Star race over Danica Patrick, we all thought probably was going to be a shoo-in for that race in 14. Maybe the Reddit community needs to rally around Casey Mears.
That would be good. We'll go ahead and start the seed on it. But one of the things as an owner on this, when y'all talking about the most popular vote or person, is who sells the most souvenirs? To me, that's the guy that's the most popular.
That's a good measuring stick. And I wish, too, I think from a transparency number, I'm a numbers guy, Carl. I love looking at numbers and stats. What are the voting numbers? Well, how close is, because we just know Chase Elliott's going to win, and they'll announce the short list, but how close is that deficit? I think that would be very telling, too.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. Dom, what else we got?
Speaking of NASCAR and ownership and the team ownership role, a great article by our friend Joseph Volkin out at Forbes this week, talking about Tad Geschickter, former owner, majority owner of the 47 team, JTG Doherty Racing. He and his wife, they'd spent a long time in NASCAR in the Cup Series and Xfinity. Told Forbes this week, Tyler, that he has no interest. He doesn't see himself entering the ownership game again in the NASCAR Cup Series. Recall they had the 47 team. They ran it with Bobby Labonte, Ricky Stenhouse over the years. Ryan Preece was in that car. Chris Buescher raced for the team when they were a two-car outlet in the charter era. But at this time, Tad Geschickter and their team, who won the Daytona 500 just 2 short years ago, they ended up selling their team to Hayek Motorsports at the beginning of this year. No urge or interest to enter back into the ownership game at this time.
And from what I was reading, a big part of it actually has to do with age. The Tad's just older now. It's a young man's game, as some people would say. Carl, Tad had a very good run. He and his wife Jody did with owning that 47 team. Dominic mentioned winning the Daytona 500, but their partnership with Kroger and working on that marketing side of things, bringing over that partnership to Roush Racing, that they got a good thing going. I'm glad to see them still be involved in the sport the way that they are.
Yes, it is, and it's easy. I mean, I've been racing since '83, and it's very easy to get to the point where you can go, man, I don't want to go home. Like this year, we didn't. This weekend coming up, Las Vegas. Love going to Las Vegas, but I've actually been able to do some things with my daughter, my youngest daughter, going to college. I couldn't do it with my other ones. Went down and got to watch the University of South Carolina football game. I hadn't seen a college football game in 20 years probably. And just a few things there's a life outside of racing. But when you're in racing, that's all you think about. That's all you do. And then you get a weekend off on the Cup side and you're racing a truck or an Xfinity car or something, a dirt car, a sprint car. And I can see Tad and him saying, okay, look, we don't have to do this. We got enough money. We can go to the Bahamas next weekend instead of going to Daytona. And it's something that we all, I guess, will change as we get older and mellower.
Matt, too, I would say that, people like Tad and others, I think, are kind of getting priced out of the sport, that we're seeing the new owners have a ton more money. Private equity is now getting involved. Private equity is backing Legacy Motor Club, and that's a bit controversial in itself to have private equity involved. I mean, it's just expensive. I mean, you're talking about now the new ownership in the sport, Matt, is not just about owning anymore. It's about owning and competing. This is the most competitive we've seen the field really in the history of the sport right now.
Yeah, yeah. When you talk about, I like to use the word investment, and ultimately, there's a lot of places you can invest your time and money, and if it's going to be in racing, it's going to be all your time and money. It seems like so, especially nowadays. So I think a lot of the points that Carl brought up are very valid in terms of the time side of things and realizing that there's more to life outside of racing. But at the same time, it's definitely difficult on the financial side as well. Just trying to make ends meet every week, and that can be stressful too. So, but at the end of the day, it's great that they had such an awesome tenure in the series, and obviously accomplished a lot and fielded a car for a lot of drivers who have made waves in the sport for sure.
Dom, you're our resident historian around here. Tad and Jody certainly, I think, left their mark on NASCAR in both the Cup and Xfinity series. I think they have nothing to hang their hats on at all, and they're still making an impact with this partnership with Roush there with RFK Racing.
Their work's still not done, and you saying that too from a historic aspect. I think when they made their first full-time foray into the Cup Series in 2009 with Marcos Ambrose, and how well they came incredibly close to winning some of the road course races. I also think of how let's call a spade a spade. They resurrected Bobby Labonte's career. Bobby Labonte was kind of on the down and out after some really bad seasons, and Labonte kind of got another kickstart, almost won the Daytona 500. To AJ Allmendinger getting their first win and making the playoffs and almost finishing top 10 points the year they did that. A lot of good stories with that 47 team, and certainly a mark that will be left for sure.
Yeah, definitely so. What else we got, Dom?
A couple more headlines. So looking at JJ Yeley in the news this week, but for an opportunity to potentially be in a race-winning vehicle come Talladega Superspeedway. JJ Yeley was announced on Monday, October 6th, that he has an opportunity in a one-off deal to run the number 7 Spire Motorsports truck, the upcoming race at Talladega Superspeedway next weekend. And JJ Yeley, 49 years old, journeyman driver, Tyler, he's been a part of the sport for 21 plus years, nearly 400 starts in Cup and Xfinity, about 36 truck starts. Never's won in any of the top 3 series, which is kind of hard to believe, but nonetheless, thinking this is going to be his best shot to win in any of the NASCAR National Touring Series in a very long time.
Carl, let's start with you here. You know JJ as well as anybody. He's raced for you a lot. Getting this opportunity, I hear drivers talk about it all the time. Doesn't matter if it's Cup, Xfinity, truck, just give me a shot to win. And this is a welcome chance for JJ, long overdue, to try to get into victory lane here.
Well, it is. And JJ, if all of the drivers that I've had come through our race team that's drove for us, JJ, when he rolled out on the racetrack, the very first lap on the car, sometimes the first or second lap was the fastest lap of anybody for the weekend. He's got one speed, which is wide ass open all the time as soon as he hits. And we've had some opportunities to run good with him. And JJ definitely knows how to get speed out of the car. But somewhere or another, there's always been that black cloud that hung over him that just didn't finish the deal for some reason. You know, he might be able to lead the race by half a lap over anybody else, and a fox or something would jump over the fence and run out and hit his car and take the tire. You know, you can't ever tell. It's just stuff like that. His luck never really finished off for what he was able to do and get speed out of it. And a lot of the stuff was, pit road errors when you when you take a car, and we've been guilty of it with him, and you hit the setup and you unload it and it's real good. It's not just to run to the end of that tire run and that fuel run. You've got other segments and other things, and you don't execute in pit road and you don't make the right decisions, and it just kind of goes away. But yeah, he's in a good piece to have. But at the same time, the only thing I'll say that's probably a little bit different is anybody at Daytona and Talladega has a chance to win. The draft is a game of playing chess. And if you look at it, look how many great finishes that Joey Gase has had in way bad equipment, if you want to call it that. Won't even qualify within a second of what the pole is. Take a provisional, get in. But once you get in a draft, he's there at the end most every time. David Starrs did that for us with some cars that really wasn't that good, but somehow got to the end and had a chance at winning. Timmy Hill, like I said, we got a second and a third at Daytona with him. So Talladega is a great chance for JJ and a great piece of equipment, because his guys that he has in a garage, they should be able to execute and do really well. But we'll see.
Matt, I know JJ hasn't gotten to victory lane in NASCAR's Top 3 Series, but he's been around the sport a long time, got to run for JGR. That career, even if the results necessarily aren't there, there's a lot of guys that would take JJ Yeley's career of what he's done in this sport.
Yeah, for sure. And on that career point, I think it's cool that, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago, he was running for Spire's Cup program, and they were kind of considered an underfunded team, and now he's getting brought back to Spire, and it's like, man, he's got a shot to win. You know what I mean? So it's kind of cool seeing the trajectory for both him and the team at this point. But yeah, but again, to kind of Carl's point, I thought it was interesting too that it was at Talladega of all places, because it's like, man, you of all places to get in a really good piece, I think I would have chose a track that it wasn't quite as involved in luck. So that'll be interesting. But either way, super cool for JJ. Obviously, he's been around the sport for a very, very long time, and I think he's very, very well overdue for an opportunity like this.
Yeah.
Dom, I look at Spire, the other end of this, and they I think have some real momentum. There's a lot of reason to be excited in that Spire Motorsports camp right now.
Yeah, I think so. Whether it be truck or cup, they have a lot of good things going on all across their programs. And two, I think it's worth mentioning, this is a race-winning truck. I don't know if it's the exact truck that he's going to be racing, but this 17 did win that photo finish at Atlanta versus Stuart Friesen with Kyle Busch behind the wheel at Atlanta in March or late February. So it's going to be a very fascinating fall. I had somebody bring it up to me. Do you think this means this is his last hurrah or one of his last hurrah? I don't know if it's that, but really cool to see him get a really race-winning opportunity towards the end of his career.
He's a little too passionate for in recent years for me to be hanging it up so soon.
Yeah.
But
I don't think we're done seeing JJ anytime soon.
No, he's probably got a good 6 or 7 more years left at him. I know him well enough.
Then we're getting into David Starr territory there at that point.
Yeah, I might have to go run another race just to be older than David out there.
We need like an old timer series. I guess the trucks used to be that. Let's get Carl out there. Let's get JJ, David. Is Morgan Shepherd still around? I mean, let's get you guys all out there in a race.
I'll see if we can get Jeffrey Bodine out there too, Tyler. Try to get him out of retirement for one more race.
Yeah, let's get Todd too. Why not, Carl?
Well, we just got to figure out who can still fit through the window. So, some of us kind of went off the deep end when you stopped driving as bad. So we'll see.
I think David will be fine. He's still getting in his 200 push-ups every day. He'll be fine.
Yeah. David is probably one of the most fit drivers on the racetrack, even though he is almost 60 years old.
Dominic, I believe we're going to the odds next. How things look for this weekend?
Well, what a better place to bring that up? Las Vegas, gambling, the odds. We look at the odds every week on the show this week, and you look at the South Point 400, your odds-on favorite heading into this weekend, Kyle Larson, who's won at Las Vegas multiple times at plus 400 or 4-1. Christopher Bell, looking for that first Las Vegas win. Tyler coming in at plus 500 or 5-1. Denny Hamlin plus 550. William Byron plus 750. Ryan Blaney plus 800. Chase Briscoe at plus 1,000. Chase Elliott at plus 1,200. Tyler Reddick, your first non-playoff eligible driver, at plus 1,400 or 14 to 1. Last year's winner, Joey Logano, rather, alongside Ross Chastain with plus 1,500 odds. Alex Bowman at plus 2,500. You go down the list, the odds start getting greater and greater. Your long shots, Catherine Legg, Cody Ware, Yeley, all coming in at plus $250,000 or 2,500 to 1.
All right, Carl, we're not going to get you in trouble and ask you who you're betting on. You already got a big fine several years ago. We don't want to go through that again. But who is the name that you're watching for? If you had to pick one driver that you think's got the best shot to win this weekend, who would it be?
I would say that coming in a playoff statue and stuff like that, I would expect to see the Fords start back up again and getting their stuff together. I think Ryan Blaney have a good shot at it. And the other one that always seems to run good at track but doesn't put it together is Bubba Wallace.
Yeah, man, those mile-and-a-half programs, 2311, they look really strong, Tyler.
Yeah, it certainly so. I think those are some good ones. Dom, how about you? Who do you like this weekend?
Yeah, we're picking one driver. He's been, for some reason, the next-gen vehicle and him do not get along in the round of 8. It seems like something has come up short, but I think this is the year. We've talked about it. There's something different. Denny Hamlin gets the win in the South Point 400. He will make the championship for the first time driving this style of race car.
Matt, who wins?
Well, if Joey Logano wants to win another championship, it better be him, I think. But no, I think in the spring, Christopher Bell had a very good car, and I think he's gonna come back and get it done this weekend.
I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin. I think this is Denny's year, and I think this track is right in his wheelhouse. The Toyotas have been strong the last several weeks. Give me Denny Hamlin to get it done. Let's get to our mailbag segment. We asked you guys to submit questions to us each and every week. And our first question is for Carl. Comes from friend of the show, Brock Baird of NASCAR.com. He says, this one for Carl here. Carl, how many next-gen cars are in your fleet now? You had just one for the first year or so. How many do you have right now, Carl?
We started with 2. The very first year, I carried Timmy Hill and J.J. Yeley to the Daytona race. We missed with both cars, and Roush had all of their wheels illegal, and so we gave them our wheels to use until a new order from England could come in.
So you had 2 back then. How many is the total you're at now?
We're at 3 now.
3, okay. And I can't imagine that was too cheap. Wasn't too cheap to get those 3 vehicles.
No, we actually bought the 3rd vehicle just before we went to Daytona. It was one of the cars that Josh Rayum had ran, and we bought it from him used. And then we went down to Daytona and killed the one that we had with Chandler Smith. So we never got to the 4th car. We killed one and started with another one.
That's good. And then I know you've run a variety of manufacturers in the past. Are you getting much help on the manufacturer front there with your next gen cars?
No, not really. We get a little bit of help through Doug Yates, just on the engine side. And a few friends that I have over on the some of the Ford teams kind of give you a little direction on a few things. But no, other than Doug Yates and what they're trying to do over there, and that's pretty much it. But I know that the engine that we've got is the same engine that Logano and Blaney's got.
Matt, I'll give you an opportunity here. You can state your case to Carl why you belong in one of those next-gen cars.
Yeah, as soon as I win the lottery, then I will. I'll state a really good case then. But yeah. Once we get to that point, otherwise, or if there's a generous billionaire out there, I'll gladly work with you.
I think that's a good case pitch right there. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there one of these days. We will.
I remember Carl telling me this a couple years ago in Texas. I said, "Hey, Carl, I did David's racing school. What do I need to do to get in one of your cars?" And he said, "Talk to me when you've run a K&N race, and then we can go from there." Is that offer still standing, Carl?
It is, but NASCAR has come down quite a bit harder. You know, Brett Bodine used to be the guy that went through your approval process. Now it's Chad Little, and they have a little group that does that. And it is a lot. Now it's based. We had an opportunity at Martinsville last year to run several Xfinity drivers, and all of them were turned down because they haven't ran competitive enough in the Xfinity or the Truck Series to allow them to come run Cup.
That's interesting.
Well, hey, we've got the, I guess, K&N starts with the ARCA E series now, but we've got the K&N starts now. So I got what I can offer. I've got some Taco Bell, and that's about it. But I can bring you some Taco Bell.
I think Matt's making a stronger case now.
Carl, another question from Brock. Brock wants to know, can you tell us about your team's return to the Truck Series? How did that come together, and where's that program at right now?
Well, the 21 truck that ran last year with Mason Maggio, that also was ran by us. And this is just kind of a changeover from that. We were part-time and looking for things to fill in, and that's kind of how it started. And I put my own truck together. We had Jeffrey Earnhardt in it at Charlotte, and unfortunately got clipped by another truck. And by the time we got his truck driving good, it was over with. But and Jeffrey's a good guy. I wanted to put some other stuff together, but we're bringing Derek White, a former partner of mine, or it's always been a partner of mine, but he's been out of racing for a while. He's a Mohawk Indian in the Kanawaka reservation right outside Montreal, Canada.
Oh, one of my people.
Yeah. So he has to run. He last raced Cup at New Hampshire 8 years ago, and they made him start back over in Truck Series. And so we've kind of put that together for him. And because we had a couple extra trucks and stuff here, the races that Derek wasn't running, we were able to run Tyler Tomasi in it. We were able to run Mason Maggio, and just some guys that are trying to learn, get their feet wet in the sport and learn, get some little experience. And it's like anything else. We have a product, we'll sell it. And if it works out, like I said, I don't have to race both of them on the same day. If the garage isn't open the same day as the Cup garage or the Xfinity garage, I'm good. We're racing.
Love it. That's great stuff. We're just about to wrap up on our show for this week. Before we do, let's kind of go around the room, catch up with everybody. Matt, your season's over with, but I imagine you're still staying busy here.
Oh yeah, we got plenty of partnership pursuing to do this off season. So already been started on that for a couple months now, trying to put something together for next year. So obviously working on that a whole bunch, and hopefully buying a house here pretty soon. And doing a lot of spending money, and hopefully before too long we'll start having money come the other way, so that again I can go back out towards racing. So that's our goal.
When you buy this house, are Dominic, Carl, and I invited over for the housewarming party?
Yeah, that'll be the first thing. I thought invitation's already in the mail.
Okay, all right. Carl, bring the dominoes with you. And let's have a good time. Carl, what's kind of going on in your world the next several weeks as we get towards the end of the season here?
It's trying to line up what I'm going to do next season, and hopefully, with everything coming aboard, that we run well enough that opens the doors for people that considered us maybe not worthy, and maybe we're proved we're not worthy. I don't know. But I'm very positively optimistic that we're going to do well in the Cup Series and help line up some stuff for next year. We've got a few other sponsors we're talking to, and who knows? And Casey still hadn't got to 500, and he said he didn't want to stop at 500, but that was just a goal to get there. So who knows what we do? If we have a good run, we may be able to pencil him in. We may be penciling in our buddy David Starr at a few races. He always likes to run for us. He ran at Atlanta this year for us in the Cup Series. Timmy Hill a few races, and it's actually good to go out and run with your same with a mix of drivers and stuff. It's not like you're committed all to that one guy, and this is his to own and day in day out. So having Chad Fincham pop up and Joey Gase and those guys, it's fun.
Dominic, what's going on in your world, man?
Yeah, so we'll be in Las Vegas this weekend. Gonna have a nice little weekend at home with the family.
I'm surprised you're not going to that making that trip.
Yeah, that's a very drivable race here from our part of Northwest New Mexico. But I will be at Talladega, looking like I'll be at Martinsville and I'll be at Phoenix. So I'll make up for not being at Vegas at the other races. So yeah, should be good. I'm looking forward to, again, a weekend at home with the family before it all picks up and gets really busy over the next few weeks. How about you, Tyler?
Very nice. Joining the weekend at home. Going to be watching some college football. Big game on Saturday, Oklahoma and Texas, Red River, Boomer Sooner. Let's get that win over UT, and certainly keeping tabs on the NFL and NASCAR too. Carl, appreciate you joining us, my friend. We always have a running joke around here when we talk to team owners, if we can get them to give out their phone number for people to contact them. If you so choose, would you like to give out how people can reach out to you and potentially get involved with your organization?
The easiest way, because I can't answer all of my phone calls, is go to my Facebook page at MBM Motorsports and just DM. Between one of the four of us, we'll respond.
The politically correct answer. I like it, Carl. Carl, appreciate you joining us. We'll put the checkered flag out on this edition of Let's Go Racing. Subscribe to the show. New episodes out each and every week. Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review or don't leave us one at all. Hit us up on social media, on X, Facebook, also by email. And we will see you right back here next week. For Carl Long, Matt Kemp, Dominic Aragon, I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks so long. This has been another edition of Let's Go Racing. We'll see you next time.